It's likely that you haven't seen half-decaying, stiff-limbed, reanimated dead people hungrily approaching you in mobs, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. They're coming for your brains. Yo! Are we already living in the zombie apocalypse? Continuing on the Krishnamurti theme of trying not to become well-adjusted to our profoundly sick society, this episode we're going to explore the zombification of the human race. It's likely that you haven't seen half-decaying, stiff-limbed, reanimated dead people hungrily approaching you in mobs, but that doesn't mean it's not happening. They're coming for your brains, or at least your reason. It might be figuratively, but I'm fairly confident when I tell you that many people are demonstrably behaving without logic and attacking, not usually in a physical way, those who are striving to remain rational. I'm not sure we're going to make it. Perhaps we should join them. After all, many of them are in positions where they are running our society or telling us what and how to think about the world, or voting and supporting these existing brain eaters. It's all the rage these days for the media, who are super spreaders of brainless parroting and thinly veiled agenda-driven propagandists, to continue to debate against all reasonable logic that the origins of the vid could be as easily a wet market than a biolab where they had a long and sordid history of the exact experimentation that would give rise to the virus we all have grown so intimate with. So, let's see if we can determine if our current zombie virus pandemic has any clearer origins. What's the source? Natural origin or gain of function? Essentially, are humans just naturally losing our faculties of reason and critical thinking, or has it been designed that way? My immediate instinct is to say it is not a natural and inevitable decline. But then what has caused this rapid decay in cognitive acuity across society? This question might be more appropriately nailed down as, is there intent in the dumbing down of society, or is incompetence and negligence more responsible? Honestly, I'm not sure if it is one or the other, but I do think we need to consider a few sources of the collective shrinkage of gray matter. 1. Social media. Attention span destroying, keyboard warrior encouraging, and a vehicle for a race to the bottom of the brainstem. Tribalism. 2. As seen in politics, the vote blue no matter who, and similar sentiments in the other camps perpetuate a state of vacuous thought and blind allegiance that almost guarantees a drop in IQ, awareness, and clearly, wisdom. This is a non-partisan lobotomy. Number 3, the death of the book. Without reading, we are throwing out wisdom and nuance every day. But how can books compete with 15-second sound bites and highly filtered video eye candy? Our acceptance of this seismic shift is fertilizing a return to pre-printing press days of literacy, and with it, the general knowledge of the populace. The aversion to long-form nuanced discussions. As I just mentioned, this shrinking appetite for anything layered, nuanced, and not digestible in the stall of a bathroom break is literally turning our minds to shit. Lifestyle, sedentary, junk food, comfort. The physical deterioration of our lousy lifestyle is directly connected with a rise in dementia, and prior to that, cognitive function that is about as sharp as a Twinkie. If you don't move, neither do your neurons. If you crave endless comfort, the challenging act of critical thinking and reflection seems torturous and is avoided at almost all costs. Toxins. Just like the avalanche of food is responsible for a deterioration of the brain, so are the rampant absorption of environmental toxins in our air, food, water, and soil. We might not be able to clearly avoid any of them, but our choices can mitigate some of their effects. The nefarious ones? Well, as I mentioned, I cannot be certain to what degree the dumbing down of the population is a planned agenda, nor do I want to go there right now. But I can say with relative confidence, it is either incompetence, negligence, or corruption, or a combination of the aforementioned. Want some examples of zombie infection? I got some for you. Mainstream media. filled with parroting talking points across stations, ignoring major and obvious stories, for example, Epstein, corruption in pharma, and so much more, as well as the incessant agenda to push the next thing, the revolving door of trends to use particular categorizations and labels to dehumanize, smear, villainize, and the likes, while simultaneously celebrating other categories of people because it serves the latest virtue signaling parade. And then, in the blink of an eye, it shifts. What was once the most important issue in the world is swept under the rug, forgotten, and lost to the newest outrage. This is especially true when the past darling of the media has been outed as perpetrator and not a victim. Booster chasers. This one just baffles me, but I will leave it as a symptom rather than a cause of the intellectual decay of people. That being said, I'll just blurt out subtly, prion disease, brain inflammation, spiky spike, spike. Masked extremist. No science backs up disposable or cloth mask wearing outside, alone, doing exercise. I have a rabbit foot to offer people who need a lucky talisman. And the pharma faithful, still supportive of Big Pharma? I'll just say, thalidomide, J&J's baby powder, Oxycontin and the opiate epidemics, Vioxx, price hiking and gouging like in insulin and EpiPens, and so many more. I don't know how you can still be a pharma faithful. The comments section, I dare you. If you aren't zombified now, after a prolonged perusal of the comment section, you will be. And Noam Chomsky, the man responsible for perhaps the most influential and insightful book on media manipulation, Manufacturing Consent, is now a shining example of media manipulation. From his simplistic and clearly ignorant communications of pandemic interventions to his being outed as an Epstein associate with funds and time poured into this highly distasteful human, Chomsky is a darling of no one with a mind or ethics anymore. And Crystal Ball, oh Crystal, you typify many of the examples I have just cited. Your interview with RFK Jr. was a display of illogical, emotional pseudo-journalism that perpetuates the worst of social media mentality, tribalism, the death of the book, the aversion to long-form nuanced discussions, the acceptance of the proliferation of toxins, mainstream media vacuousness, booster chasers, tail-chasing naivety, and most of all, the pharma faithful and the thoughtless keyboard warriors raiding comment sections everywhere. Crystal Ball, here, you want to see it? Here's the link. I don't want to get into the content, but I will say that she shows that intellectualism is being buried as we speak. She asks for answers and then she doesn't allow a sentence to get out of her interviewee's mouth. She uses the word correlation instead of causation, which basically makes her statement an effective retort to her own attempted position. A position which she could not support, nor she could offer a single piece of substantial evidence to negate RFK Jr.'s position. And maybe, worst of all, as a supposed independent journalist and someone who claims to value evidence and logic, she was willing to hear anything the man who she demanded time from to be interviewed, and then she claimed falsely that they only had 5 minutes left to discuss. Thus, she wouldn't get into it. It's YouTube. You can take as long as you want, but you didn't want to, Crystal, because it hurt the advanced state of the zombification in your brain. And you know what? You can go to that comment section, because if you go to that comment section, you will see that her own audience, some ratio of 80% of them disliked the interview and the video, and they had some really powerful words to say. Sometimes, not usually, sometimes, in rare cases, the comment section might actually restore faith in humanity. And I think in this case, that's one of those times. So, what are yours? What are your examples of the zombification of the human mind, of the zombie apocalypse being here? What do you think are the causes and examples of the arrival of the zombie apocalypse? But before I hear from you, and you can put it in the comments section, I'd like to leave you on a positive note. So I think this whole zombie apocalypse is obviously something that we're not hoping for. But I think it leads to a love story. And that love story is, if we resist and remain with functioning prefrontal cortexes, then we will have each other. And what a wonderful world it will be. Because there'll be us left to communicate logically, respectfully, with nuance, in long-form dialogue. And we don't have to race to the bottom of the brainstem and cave in to overt stress, which shuts down the prefrontal cortex. We have the opportunity to build a different world. A world where logic, reason, ethics, nuance, humanity can prevail again. So, I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your examples of zombifications. I want to hear your ideas about what's caused this and what continues to cause it. And what do you think of the video? So, hopefully give me a thumbs up, some comments, maybe a subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Beat the algorithm. Let's get the information out there and share it if you will. I greatly appreciate it.